Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live.
Hello, everyone. How are you today? And welcome to Company of Prophets. Get the mic on correctly. I don't know why this always happens. Company of Prophets. How are you all doing today? We are nearing the end of Company of Prophets. Let me see how much time we have. I want to give you guys enough time to get your next book. Chapter 10 and chapter 10 and chapter 10 is the last chapter. So I'm thinking 2 more weeks after today, maybe 2 more weeks. And the next book I decided to read is The Celestine Prophecy. Celestine Prophecy. Now, this book was by James Redfield. This book was written at a time where no one had advanced information about spiritual development. So this book is very good, albeit a little outdated. Right? It was written in 1993. So in 1993, this was absolutely innovative. Today, maybe not so much, but it's always healthy to take a look back at something and see how we're developing so far. All right. So Celestine Prophecy is the book of choice. Come one, come all. Let's get this book. And we'll start reading it when we finalize Company of Prophets. Now, this book actually took much longer than I thought, and it's only because it took me a while to balance what the author was trying to say. It's written in a way where I was uncomfortable. But because of you guys, you helped me to stay focused, which I can just throw a book away in the middle of it. But you guys helped me to stay focused and was like, we like the book. And I was like, okay. So let's finish the book. And because of y'all's interest, I have since learned to love the book. So thank you, everyone. All right. So, hi, Black Coffee, No Cream. How are you? Thank you for joining us. So we're in chapter 10, but I didn't highlight any parts last week. So if we're not in chapter 10, I might have to go back and figure out where we're at, but let's just jump to chapter 10 and I'll figure it out for next week. And I just want to make sure that you all are taking care of your health. I have recently had some discoveries myself, and I have a new lease on living, conscious living, although I thought I had a lease on conscious living. But I guess, sometimes something can fall through the cracks. And so I just want to make sure that you guys are taking care of your health. Get your blood work. High blood pressure is real. So Look at what you're eating to minimize high blood pressure. Diabetes is real. So diabetes is food, period. And so look at your sugar intake, look at your labels. Anywhere where it says a high carb count of like 38 grams, 42 grams, just don't touch it. Because in addition to a high carb gram, if you look down further, it'll say sugars, and then it'll say something else sugars, and then it'll say additional sugars. And if any of those have numbers, what you're consuming is probably 90% sugar. The sugar industry is huge. They don't care about you. So don't let them trick you into loving sugars, right? Which means you might have to go through some withdrawal, right? It's no joke when you're a sugar addict. Nobody calls it that, but that's what it is, basically. And that's no joke. So you're going to have to figure out a way to acknowledge the addiction, right? Just because it's food doesn't mean it's not an addiction. And figure out what would it take to decrease slowly. Because the good part about your body is that your body does adjust to you, right? So just giving up sugar will make you crash, and you don't need to go through withdrawals because that ain't pretty. But decreasing what you put in, more fruits, is probably your gift. But there are a lot of carbs in fruit, but it's still better than something that has 38 to 42 grams of carbs and then 18 grams of additional sugars, right? It's still better than that, even though a lot of fruits have carbs. But you can always look up the fruits in your community and see how much carbs it has so that you could at least monitor, Google it, to monitor your fruit intake. But again, the natural source is so much better than the artificial source. And everything has sugar in it, so watch what you're doing. You know what I hate more than anything? I love coffee and the creamers. You know, the sugar industry got to the creamers, and, you know, so sad because I love my 1 cup of coffee, but everything that I pick up has sugar in it. Bastards. Bastards. All right. I think I know what this is, and I don't need it. Interesting. All right. Let's get this party started. We are starting with diversities of gifts, varied talents. It's hard to explain about a vision. It's not anything you can touch, of course, but you know it's there. It's about the only thing that is real to you while it's going on. I guess it comes closer to being like a dream than anything else, but it's not exactly like that. Neither. This was expressed by C.C. White in his autobiography, No Quitting Sense. A lifelong resident of Texas, White, a preacher, was born in 1885. He remembered being inspired to preach at 3 years old. I got some sticks. I tied rags around some to make skirts for girls, and left some just plain for the boys. Then I stuck them in the ground and preached them a sermon. I told them to repent of their sins, just like I heard the preacher say. And I sang them Old Mourner till I got tired. Then I dug a hole, poured some water in it, and baptized them. White's first visionary experience was in 1925. A vision in 1928 prompted his move to Jacksonville, where he founded a church and built God's little storehouse. I told Marty, his wife, I've been preaching. Bring your tithes to the storehouse. I ain't got no storehouse. I think what I needed to do is put me up something out there, a building people can see and touch so they know there is a storehouse. And so I'll have a place to keep the tithes they'll bring. And from the first day on, ain't never been a time I ain't had a little something in there to give God's hungry folks. His congregation and community brought donations of food, clothing, and money to the storehouse to help the needy. When God gives you a vision, your whole body kind of soaks up the message. Like a biscuit soaks up red-eye gravy. Continued White in his book, co-authored by Ada Morehouse Holland. Sometimes you can hear the message as well as you feel it. And sometimes you can see it. But generally, none of the people around you see it or hear it. Leastwise, none of the people around me ever did. Fear not, gather my children. Oh, wait. Hold on. Oh, I was forced to come in my bedroom because it is so freaking hot today. Oh my God. So hot. Oh, I know what I was gonna do. Get my bell. Oh, by the way, I found all my bells. Just been bringing in here with me. Fear not, gather my children. Mary Thomas saw Christ in a vision, walking steadily up a mountain. When he reached the top, he spoke these words. Mary is the founder and executive director of the Serene Community Homes, Incorporated in Sacramento, California, an organization serving the needs of handicapped people. The nonprofit organization consists of 3 24-hour residential treatment facilities and a private special education school. Service is provided to the developmentally disabled children, emotionally disturbed children, and children with learning disabilities. One evening earlier in life, Mary volunteered to help fundraise activities for the church. Her mission began unfolding in a series of unusual events. She felt compelled to get up after only a few hours of sleep that night, and over a period of 7 days, she experienced a shifting in her consciousness. She was influenced in that inward remaking to anoint her head with oil she blessed, then to cleanse herself with water. The first day she performed the ritual 3 times, each time repeating the same pronouncement in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I saw a configuration of the Father beckoning to me, and looking at his Son. What was going through my mind very strongly was, this is my beloved son. Believe in him. Mary's family remained around her over the 7-day transitional period, but no one questioned her or seemed to regard her behavior as strange. She had a sense of being totally accepted by them. A golden key was dropped in my hand. I could actually feel my hand sting from it. I saw a woman in a huge body of water, the most beautiful water I had ever seen. This woman was standing at the edge of the water. Her shoes were off her feet. They were black brogans. They were beside her. She had her hair parted in the middle and was taken back. She was slender, and her dress had a Peter Pan collar. The woman looked at me. Her eyes followed me until she had my full attention. She just drew me in with her eyes. You have it, you know. Now do it. The woman had seen in that vision Mary later discovered was Ellen White, founder of the 7-Day Adventure. When I looked and saw another woman coming toward me, I had a bandana. She had a bandana on her head. I looked and I said, that's me. I was coming toward myself. 7 signs were shown to Mary at her first experience of visions. One of my brochure today, there is one sign that I remember, and I know one day all the others will come back. It's all coming together. Mary actually began her work with handicapped children after talking with the neighbor, the foster parent of several young developmentally disabled children. During their conversation, Mary experienced a strong realization that this was the work she was to do. I could hardly wait to get up the next morning to go to the agency. I told the licensing social worker, I want to work with children who have problems, the children who really need my services. I want the most handicapped children that you have. In the process of that spiritual reformative period, Mary received psychic information on nutrition, which proved beneficial later to the children placed with her. Mary was born in Durham, North Carolina. She earned a doctorate in the field of nutrition in 1983. Her work with children began in New Jersey. In 1974, she moved to Sacramento. She continues to receive knowledge and intercession through visions. She reminisces about an occasion of being guided from taking a premature action in the secrets of establishing her work. I went in and laid down. I heard this crunch, like somebody walking on sand. Then I saw this clear white sand and still the crunch. I was not asleep. I knew it was either Christ or an angel who said, I am with you. Would you go out before you are ready? Wait until you are ready. Before going in to apply for her first foster parent license, Mary had randomly read the Bible, which she had spontaneously picked up. I just opened it. It opened up to the part where Peter had asked Christ, who has sinned that this man be born blind? The parents or the grandparents? And Christ answered, none. That this be the will of my Father, that his goodness be manifested. I closed the Bible. And that is still my philosophy within these homes in my agency today. That these handicapped children are like this because we do our jobs. Then the manifestation of Christ will come through and bring them into balance. I believe that. I believe that. All right. I like that though. I don't remember that part of the Bible. Although I'm not crazy about Jesus' disciples, if I can tell you all that. Um, they were just a bunch of buffoons. I feel like Jesus had 12 people around him, but they were all like idiots. I feel like Jesus had no one protecting him, even though he had 12 disciples. I feel like Jesus didn't have one Judas. I feel like he had 12 Judases, not on purpose. The Judas did it on purpose, but the other's ignorance was equally as profound, and put Jesus at harm. They didn't get it. They didn't get, to be honest with you, I talked this about a client the other day. Not only did they not get it, those that went on to preach, once they got it, once Jesus died and came back, and they were like, oh my God, we were in the presence of royalty. And then they went out and spread the word of Christ. And some parts in the Bible, like Acts, like they got it wrong. They all got it wrong. The part after Jesus died is human direction, and their personal direction based upon what they believe Jesus would have done. But it's not what Jesus would have done, because they were a bunch of buffoons and they weren't listening when Jesus was here. So they went out and gave the word for themselves and their core belief system and what they believe Jesus would have said. And so some things in the second half of the Bible, after Jesus died, are just silliness. Some things are silliness. So it is what it is. Maybe I'll go through the Bible and point out all the things that I find disturbing in the second half of the Bible after Jesus had died. Silliness. Just disappointing. In any case, that's my take, and I'm sticking to it. All right. Which is why sometimes I have a problem with religion. So I think like everybody just gets it wrong. Everybody. Which is fine. Who cares? But just don't expect me to be so blindly church, and you guys got it all wrong. To this day, everybody has it so wrong. All right, I'm going to stop for a minute. I just need to clean my nails. Before I came, I was doing something, and my nails are dirty, and I can't handle it because that's the level of crazy for me. I need to clean these nails. So stay with me. I'm just going to play a little bit of music. Don't panic. I'm here. Just let me play some music, and I will be right back after I wash my hands. Hi, everyone. I am back. So, I fell the other day and my ribs are still killing me, but nothing's broken. So, I just think it's a mature body that's having a hard time getting over a bad fall. You know, it's not a young body anymore. But I fell, but I feel fine, technically. I feel fine. More of abused ego than anything, I think. All right. I don't think that's to figure it out later. All right. How's everyone doing? We are. Oh, wait. How do you guys put up with me? I'm like such a scatterbrain. All right. We are moving on. Urged by an inner voice, Mimo Wilson prayed for her husband. The voice directed her to a specific Bible passage. I fell into the mixing machine, Mimel's husband said later when he came home from work. With no immediate way to control the machine, the rest of the crew stood around helpless, dread over his imminent mutilation. But miraculously, the machine switched off. The accident was happening. The Mimo found out at the precise time she was urged to pray. Inner voice instructions first came when she was 8 or 9 years old. The onset of visions arrived at the same time. Perceiving in those ways was thought normal in the family. Mimel's mother had visions. And her grandmother prophetic dreams. The two often and very naturally communicated with each other by thought. Things don't work out well when I don't follow the inner voice, she explains. Let me highlight that. Things don't work out well when I don't follow the inner voice, she explained. A bright light appeared to Mima while she was doing yoga and meditational exercises. It stayed around the first time, following her throughout the house. Now, when she is upset, the light returns, creating a calming influence. Perceptive individuals have acknowledged Mimo's help in reversing the course of illness after she prayed for their healing. She also influences the weather. Aware of some of her own past lives, Mimo says her mother has reincarnated as one of the grandchildren. All right, let me highlight that too. One of the grandchildren. Okay. Memel grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana. She devotes herself to creating constructive thought. I have associated myself with positive thinkers, she said. She formed her ideal of the positive thinker from her grandmother and mother. She taught many years in rough schools as a substitute teacher in San Francisco Bay Area where she lives. One class, the reputation of ralliness, responded dramatically after she meditated for peace. The students became so well behaved that the principal, disbelieving what he saw, kept checking in. All right, let's go back to things don't work out well when I don't follow the inner voice. Who here, write in the comments, who's had experiences like that? Who's had experiences that has led them to have an inner direction, an inner voice giving you a direction, and we find it silly, or it's dumb, or I'm not listening to myself, right? And then by not listening, something happens. And you're so disappointed in yourself because you say later to people, I knew I shouldn't have gone to that party. I knew I shouldn't have gone to work today. I knew I shouldn't have gone on a highway. Right? You don't say it in such a way where you're like, Spirit, talk to me. You say it in a way where you say, I said to myself, don't do that. I said that to myself. Don't participate in this because it feels like a scam. I did. I said that to myself. And so, not me personally. I'm just trying to give some examples. And so, Memel says here, which is such a cute name. I actually like the name Memel. Things don't work out when I don't follow the inner voice. I can tell you right now, even as a grown woman, there's that inner voice that says to me, don't do this. And as of recently, I wanted to go visit my sister for her birthday, July 19th. I was trying to leave on the 18th. That way, the 19th, I would already be with her and celebrate her birthday. I really just wanted to celebrate her birthday. And Spirit kept making it difficult. And don't even ask me, how is that possible? It just was. Every time I was looking for a flight or a plane, I tried everything, booking, Priceline, went straight to American. Like, nothing worked out. Nothing worked out. Because I was trying to go to my sister and then go to Seattle to see my son and then try to get home. But that itinerary was not working out. So I put the computer down. And the thing about, I don't know if you guys know this, if you're looking for a flight, best believe you should buy the flight that day. Because when you go back, they now know, the computer, whoever the fuck they are, they now know that you're trying to get to a particular place. And so whatever's inside that computer, Siri, Roberta, whoever, they now jack up the price. So you'll look at another flight, same directional behavior, it could be $200 more. So, but I couldn't help it. I was forced to put it down. And I heard God say, try in a week. So I waited a week, looked at it again. Nothing worked out. Nothing. And so it happened again. So put it down again. I heard God say, just wait. And then I heard God say, maybe you might want to switch it to September. you're traveling, right? And I was like, I don't know. I don't want to switch it till September. Like, I really, really want to go for my sissy's birthday. Like, why is this so hard, God? Like, I was almost like in tears. But there was nothing I could do. I couldn't force the hand the way the itinerary was being presented to me and the pricing. Like, I couldn't force it anyway. So I finally just gave up. And then July 18th happened, the day I was supposed to travel, in my mind, had I not listened to my inner voice. July 18th is when the airline
not a court,
had
but
that
we
major
appreciate your answers.
Crash because they upgraded the system. Whatever, people. I do not believe that for a minute, but I'm not going into no conspiracy theories. And when it crashed, when I woke up that morning, I was like, oh my God, I was supposed to travel today. And I was going to travel and have a stopover in Denver. So either I wouldn't have been able to travel, which would have been nightmare one, right? And I would have had to switch the dates anyway, right? Or I would have traveled and have been stuck for Denver. And I heard people were stuck for 3 days to a week, which means I would have missed everything with my sister. And by the way, that would have killed me. It would have killed me because the time that I spent with her when I finally got there was amazing. And so be careful, everyone, when you don't listen to yourself, that inner voice. Listen to it when you're especially dealing with relationships. Listen to your inner voice. You don't need to prove anything, but you need to know that your inner voice sees something that you can't see, that your inner voice is God. Your inner voice is an ancestor. Your inner voice is a guide. They just talk to you in your own voice. All right? The next thing I want to point out is Mamel says her mother has reincarnated as one of the grandchildren. So it's my understanding, I don't know how true this is, but it's brought up a lot in my community that we recycle ourselves within families. So next time around, you might come through and who your dad is might come through as your daughter. And it's a very common belief system in our community. And something about recycling in the families. I don't know why that has to be, but it is what it is. Hopefully I'll get more answers spiritually on how true that is and why. And if I get some spiritual insight, I'll definitely share it with you guys. So let me know how you're feeling, everyone. Oh. All right. You have always been a beautiful sister. You are very special. Don't worry, I am happy. This is the end of physical life. These words were given clearly to Calistine Williams by her brother, Benjamin Perry, in a dream while she laid in bed. Oh no, she moaned aloud. and began crying. "What's wrong?" Celestine's daughter inquired anxiously after entering the room. "Benjamin died." "No, Mommy, you were asleep." The phone rang and her daughter answered, and she was shocked by the call. Slowly, she put the phone down. "Mother, you were right. This is your mother, and your brother has died." One of her many psychic experiences, this particular incident was related by Celestine in the Commercial Appeal in April 1979. Born in Mississippi, she is now a resident of Memphis and an administrator in the field of public health. Obvious by the time she was 6, Celestine's psychic gifts are wide range. She sees the future and the past and sends and receives thought messages. Through the emanations from energy, she knows the thought, emotions, and attitudes and conditions of people, objects, and geographical areas. Celestine has been a guest lecturer on the subject of her abilities at the Memphis State University. She also appears on television. "I work by phone or in person," she says. "I have the person talk for a while and the energies come through and I give a message and can sense things about an area, the feeling of a house." In counseling, she works to raise individual awareness of themselves and to assist them in bringing out their own abilities. "I try to motivate people to listen to the self. My own growth is in working with people, seeing them change, seeing them coming into self-awareness." Celestine startled messages came in about her father, whom she had not seen in 3 decades. From rumor, she knew he might be living somewhere in Bedford, South Carolina. But this news of him came flowing strongly and clearly through inner space, by passing all physical barriers to communicate about his condition. Through what she calls vibes, Celestine saw her father in a room near death. With scores covering his body, sores covering his body. By bus, she left in Memphis to search for him in Beaufort. In tracing him, she was guided by the vibes, which intensified as she approached his home. There, she found him in a condition she perceived through the energies. Her father cried over how she had located him. Vibes also told Celestine her father would recover despite medical opinion that he was terminally ill. She brought him home, tended him, and his health improved. Dr. Yvette Sutter, a psychologist at the Memphis State University, invites Celestine to visit some of his classes in parapsychology and share the podium. "She has been a tremendous asset to this class," he stated. She is excellent as a person of precognition abilities and relates beautifully to the students. The article in the Commercial Appeal goes on to describe another incident where Celestine demonstrated her gifts. A student reported in which Celestine demonstrated her gifts. A student reported, "We've never seen each other until I went to that class of Dr. Sutter's. In an informal moment afterwards, she told me, 'You're pregnant,' which was obvious, 'but you're not married,' which was not supposed to be obvious." I was like in shock. I didn't know her at all, but she was 100% accurate. I guess back in the day, that would be an accuracy. Nowadays, everybody's pregnant without marriage. So, whatever. All right, hold on, guys. For some reason, my nails are not acting right today. It bothers me. All right. Oh, I think I know what I need to do. Hold on a second. I think I know. I'm back. Perfect. All right. Moving on. Moving on. Okay. Okay. Oh, let me see who else is talking to me right now. Hi, Miss Behaven. How are you? Good morning. Beautifully blessed Sunday. Okay. Johnny saw her husband becoming more spirit than physical, she said to her daughter. "We are losing Daddy." He passed with suddenness he passed, Jesus Christ, with suddenness in 1977, and she thought she would go insane from the loss. The day he left, he manifested to his sister-in-law. In his easygoing style, the apparition said, "Goodbye, black girl." The first year of his death, he came home every night. Johnny could feel him getting into bed, and in the morning, there was the smell of coffee, as he always made it. I didn't want to let him go. Everything is going to turn out all right, his spirit telepathized, informed Johnny. Worried about a business transaction, her anxiety abated with healing, the physical vibration of his voice. The time came, though, when he stood in spirit form before her as though he were alive again, well groomed, smiling, and light. I am happy. I won't be back. He kept screaming. I kept screaming for him, Johnny recalled. He became angry over her reaction. His emotion jarred her. So she released him for both their sakes. We were very close. He was outgoing, a free spirit, and religious. He taught me so much in life. They would have been married more than 30 years, Johnny's husband would say to her, "Hey, girl, you're unusual." He was the first to really recognize she had gifts and told her God sent him to take care of her. Longtime resident of Los Angeles, Johnny Page was born in Birmingham, Alabama. In addition to doing individual counseling, she teaches classes in metaphysics and has hosted radio programs. She made predictions as a child. Those early signs of her gifts were mostly buried by parental hushes and rejections. Let me highlight that. Her mother ascribed Johnny's gifts to listening to grown-ups' business. I used to dream a lot, used to get visions through dreams, Johnny reveals. I was gifted in knowing who was going to be president. I could tell. Eisenhower was my first experience. It came in a vision in which the little newspaper boy was screaming and hollering, "Eisenhower, President of the United States." Johnny told someone at work, and the next day, who said, "You've got to be crazy. Nobody would elect a fighting man for president. This man knows nothing about war." "I don't care. Spirit told me last night," Johnny's co-worker laughed and walked off. The second presidential visions Johnny had were Kennedy, his election and assassination. The spirit told her when Johnson was going to resign. "I told my husband, and he said, 'Oh, lady, no man would leave his party hanging like that.' He said, 'He's going to tell it tonight when he gives the State of the Union address, so just be ready.' We were listening to it, and Johnson got through with the State of the Union message, but he did not give the resignation message. I was devastated. My husband said, 'Well, you didn't make it that time.' I said, 'It's true. It's true.' And he did give his resignation in the next 2 or 3 days. He said he intended to do it at the State of the Union address, but he changed suits at the last minute and left his speech in the other suit pocket. I said, I know my spirits wouldn't do me that way." I love that. Johnny began to relate to her spirit guides outside her dreams and visions around 1975. And by relate, I think maybe believe in her spiritual gifts. At a Friday night message meeting conducted by Dr. James Thomas of the School of Guiding Light in Los Angeles. She was chosen to do the reading. She was astonished when she consented. She had never worked with a group. People asked the questions. They put me in a bottle. The first question I drew, I began to talk. I don't know where the things came from. It looked like I began to talk to someone else and was taking charge. I did that night, and everybody was amazed. Things started to happen that I wasn't conscious of. I called the names, the places. I wasn't conscious then of that. After that, Dr. Thomas took me under his wing. He became very good. He taught me discipline. We became very good friends. We had all kinds of classes, and I was involved. Nothing told me how I knew. I became conscious of me. Looks like something came, and I became conscious of me. I thought it was just something that everybody had. When I would tell somebody something, they would just look at me and say, I would think, do you think I'm crazy? I thought maybe I talk too much. That everybody else knew it, but they just didn't want to, they didn't say it. Johnny has 2 spirit guides. Sometimes it will be Michael, the guardian angel. I love him. It seemed like I claimed him, and sometimes I have a happy-go-lucky Japanese. He came to me through a dream. In working with individuals, Johnny said, I used a person's birth path. I am clairvoyantly in tune with that person. That means I can see with that person. I can call places, times, and names. That's the only thing I can't do. I can't call names. Also, while I'm talking with that person, I can tell if the birth date is correct, a forgery, or when they really don't know. Back in the day, the birth dates sometimes were made up. Sometimes when I'm talking with a person, I see it like a movie screen. Sometimes I get voices, and sometimes the two will come together. It's never always a set pattern. Johnny enjoys explaining her metaphysical philosophy. I believe that God made a purpose of all things he creates. He gave talent to all, and those who did use it, he multiplied. Oh, interesting. Well, there you go. That's validation. Those who do not use it, he took it away. I also know that my God has given me the knowledge of knowing the difference between right and wrong, she asserts. I believe that we are responsible for us. Now, I could say that too. There are the metaphysical world, I think, for me, there are times when I will die on a sword if it means I have to lie. I will not lie. I will not. However, if it is to save someone from something, then it's easy to lie. Then go ahead and lie. Can't give you a good example. No, I can give you a good example. But it wasn't a lie. But my cousin was in the hospital. The cousin that I love the best. She's amazing, even in death. No one has ever said a bad word about that woman. In any case, she called me, as she always does for a reading. And her question this time was, Tracy, am I going to die? And I shouldn't have looked at the cards. I shouldn't have answered her at all. But it's years later when you learn what you should and should not do, first of all. So I answered her. And I said, absolutely not. You're not going to die. She was grateful. She thanked me. Then she died that night. That night, she died. And so I pondered for years. One, why would she call me, right? Because that has to be permitted by God. And two, why did she die? Why did she have to die? And so, and why did I give her the answer that I gave her? And had I been fully conscious in knowing that she was going to die, I might have influenced her death differently, right? You know, I didn't understand all that happened. And then, I don't know. But I realized I wasn't supposed to know. She wasn't supposed to know. Like, death was never going to be about me. And ironically, it wasn't even about her. The date is the date. And we don't need to know the date. And that's what I got out of it ultimately, that the date is the date. And this is why a lot of you all, when there's a family member literally dying in your face, you don't see it. And the person's like literally dying. But hospital people are used to watching people be in denial. And I guess I just wasn't supposed to know. And I wasn't supposed to tell her. I guess. I'm not God. So, this is one of those things where I just have to trust God in not telling me in the cards that she was dying. But don't you find it interesting that maybe she knew anyway? Who calls and says, check the cards for me, am I dying? Who calls and says that? So maybe God didn't want me to have the beast of burden. Maybe God didn't want her to know. I don't know. Maybe she would have changed the trajectory and maybe she would have lived. Maybe she just wasn't supposed to live. I don't know. This is where I can say I am not God. I just find it interesting. And I bring that up because in the book here, I also know that God has given me knowledge of knowing the difference between right and wrong. I believe that we are all responsible for us. You know? I have to tell you, when I fell the other day, and the way I fell, I was like, God, you never do me wrong, ever. Why am I falling head first on concrete, right? And a wonderful lady who I've yet to contact stayed with me and kind of insisted that I go to the hospital. You know, you could have a concussion, yada, yada. Like, I just wanted to go home and get a bite to eat. But somewhere along the line, with her insistence, I realized I don't want to get a concussion and I don't want to eat because they always say don't eat when you have a head injury. And I was like, all right, at the very least, I'll go to the hospital. They'll tell me I don't have a concussion and I'll eat. And while I was there, they did CAT scan, they did x-ray because my ribs also hurt. I felt like maybe something had been bruised on my ribs. And I did blood work and urine sample. And so the doctor came in and he says, listen, you're fine. Your concussion is not a concussion and you have no broken ribs. So I'm going to send you home, give you some, extra milligrams of Tylenol. And he's like, but we did find a UTI. So I'm going to give you meds for that. And the UTI, I realized I had it for months. Months I had it. I keep racking my brain on this UTI. And I had it for months. I mean, months. And nobody knows this, but when I went to Los Angeles, I was so weak in Los Angeles. I didn't tell you guys. I was so weak. And I was going to bed every night with legs that were floppy. We have these things in California. Mechanic places have this weird doll where it flops back and forth and waves its arm and the legs is like jelly. And so I was going to bed every night feeling like that balloon doll. And I couldn't understand it. I said, God, why am I so weak? And I had to take 3 days from being with my sister because I'm the sole provider, eating, driving, making sure she is occupied. And it's just me. And I was getting weaker by the day. So I took 3 days off, which I really didn't take off because very good friends of mine's son had a heart operation. So even though I didn't see my sister for 3 days, I still went to the hospital every day to see this little boy who's just 10 months old. But I was weak the whole time. And I realized I was weak before I went on vacation. And then when I came back from vacation, I couldn't stop my calf from her, like you touch it. And it was like, okay, so I had gone to the doctor just before I went on vacation. And I remember saying that to the doctor, I think I'm having a GYN problem. But he didn't want to address it. And he goes, go to the female clinic. Like, kind of like saying, go to the female clinic. And I was like, okay, I'll go. But I think there's this problem. And so I described the problem to him. And he's like, go to the female clinic. So I went to the female clinic. They gave me an appointment on August 29th. And I was okay with that because I would be back August 20th. I get back. I forget the appointment. And lo and behold, I don't even go to make a new appointment. I just let it go. I'm feeling fine, feeling healthy. Nothing UTI issues, nothing. No symptoms. Except I still couldn't walk. And I was surprised that I wasn't walking. I just figured it must have been jet lag going, running around too much, jet lag coming back. And I still had this trouble walking. It's like, oh, there's something wrong here. And so I thought maybe I should just exercise, maybe rebuild my muscle exercise. In any case, as God would bless me, right? He slams my face on the concrete. And I know this sounds completely crazy, but let it be crazy. He slams my face on the concrete, which forces me to go to the hospital. And the nurse says, well, you've got nothing wrong, and we're so happy for you. But, we found something else. A UTI infection, so take these pills. And so what I began to realize is that the body, after I took the pills, everything that was bothering me auto-corrected itself. I guess my blood was septic. And you guys also didn't know this, but I would wake up in the morning and I looked like the Mexican Halloween, right? Dia de Muertos, like the eyes, the sunken eyes. Like I was looking like that. And I was like, okay, what is this, God? I'm looking poor. And I didn't understand that my body was in crisis, that my blood was poisoned. And I realize now, because I would not have gone to the doctor, because I had already went to the doctor, God had to slam my face on a concrete. Weird, huh? Yeah, very weird. All right. It's what it is. So she says here, God gave talent to all of us. Those who use it, he multiplies the gift. Those who do not use it, he takes away. It's very interesting here. Tom sings beautifully, and he doesn't have to learn any tunes. He knows them all. As soon as he began to sing, he sings right along with us. In those words, a slaveholder's child wonderingly describes one of the abilities of Thomas Green Bethune. Born as a slave on May 25th, 1849, in the vicinity of Columbus, Georgia, he has been considered a musical medium in metaphysical circles. Blind from birth, he is generally known as Blind Tom. George P. Rackwick recorded in The American Slave, a composite autobiography, that Blind Tom's talent for music was evident before he was 2 years old. A piano was brought into his household when he was not quite 4, and Tom quickly mastered it. Upon hearing lengthy pieces of music, he was able to reproduce them note for note. At 5 years, he composed Rainstorm, revealing what he felt. The rain and wind and thunder had said to him. That was so cool. Radwick noted other abilities. He could hear a sermon, political speech, or lecture of any kind, and quote it word for word. Another thing Tom could do was feel a piece of cloth and tell the color, or smell a house and tell what was in it. Tom became an acclaimed composer and pianist, performing throughout America and Europe. Okay. I'm getting tired, guys. Let me do my commercials. I really should make commercials, shouldn't I? Yeah, I should make commercials. So, for those of you that want to join our class, there is one today. I have a spiritual mentoring class with one of my greatest friends in life, Jason. I adore Jason. You guys have heard me say that over and over and over and over. Jason is amazing. And we have a class today. And if you want to join, just contact me at tracybrownlive@gmail.com. Hold on. So that's one commercial. The other commercial is my rosemary oil. And what is today's date? The sale ends, right? Because the fall equinox was when? The 21st, right? So we are now in fall. So come get your rosemary oil and go to tracybrownlive@gmail.com. No, tracybrownlive.com. So funny, I don't know my own. There you go, tracybrownlive.com to get the rosemary oil. Also, if you go on the site, I also do candle magic for everyone. And I have a class that I'm doing on next Sunday, and it is a candle magic class. And if you want to join that class, let me know, because I have to ship out your ingredients. All right. And for you to get it on time, I can ship it out 3-day. So just say I want to be a part of it, and I can ship it out no later than Tuesday. All right. There you go. What else is there? Thank you, everyone, for joining us on Thank God It's Intuition Friday. It's supposed to be an hour show, but we just have so much fun lollygagging and giving our opinions. And if you follow the show at all, I spend the whole time saying the craziest of things. But you all love me and you accept me who I am, and that helps me to continue say the craziest of things. You guys are not helping me, but you love me, and that's all that matters. So come join us every Friday. Thank God it's Intuition Friday. And I asked the public to come on the board and give their opinion, and somebody did. When you come on board, you don't have to show your face, you know. We're just so happy to have people give their opinion. It is an opinionated show. It's not a psychic show. It's an opinionated show, and you say your opinion, and I will not deter your opinion. I'm just going to listen. That's what I'm going to do. All right, guys. Thank you so much for putting up with me. We have much more P. Diddy stuff to constantly do. So I will be doing a reading around 12-ish. I'll be doing a reading, and this reading is going to be more on the line of P. Diddy and the people that have supported his bad behaviors for years. So we're going to look at another character that supported his bad behaviors. All right, guys, I do love you. Take it easy. Bye.
Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and